Okay, guys, welcome back. This is the fan show after the Tottenham 3, Elfsborg 0 game. Listen, what a time to be a Spurs fan, just to enjoy a victory at last. It feels like it's been so long. I guess we did beat Hoffenheim last week, so it hasn't been that long, but tonight felt a little bit more under control, a little bit more enjoyable, and we are into the last 16 of the Europa League. In this show, I will be talking to a number of Spurs fans from around the world, and we will be discussing the Tottenham versus Elfsborg game, of course, the 3-0 win. But let's get started, shall we? And we're going to go first to... 1 second. We're going to go first to Melvin. Is that you? Can you hear me, Melvin?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, top man. Listen, so good to be able to speak to you after a victory. Melvin is all the way over in Malta. How do you feel after that game, mate?
Yeah, I mean, you have to love it when kids, when the academy products score, when they turn up. It lifts the stadium, lifts the atmosphere, lifts the fans. Something that we needed, to finally talk to you after a victory. I don't think we've spoken much lately, after the victory. Obviously frustrating times, but today is one that makes you go to sleep happy, makes you have a good day the next day. Loved to see Scarlett score. Obviously Mikey Moore was impressive. Was happy with Son. I thought Son was great. Pedro Porro was great. Unlucky with Dragizin's injury now. I think that's the only downer. The performance overall was solid. We got the win in the end. Wasn't the best first half. We didn't take our chances. But I thought the effort was there. How great was it to see Van de Ven again?
Good.
Just made me smile immediately. And it just the high press was back. There's confidence that he's gonna make up the ground if they're gonna counter attack. It's great to have Van de Ven back. I'm sure to lift the spirits in the team.
Yeah.
And probably within the next few weeks and maybe month, we'll start to see more and more and more coming back. Obviously, it's fucking shame Dragizin got injured. I mean, Dragizin hasn't stopped playing since the Man City game, I believe, in the 4-win victory. He hasn't stopped playing since then. Yeah. And it's something I said on when I spoke to Chris the other day. I fear that, and I mentioned Archie Gray and Porro and Kulusevski, because they have not stopped. Just simple as that. They haven't stopped playing. And it's a shame now that we got one back and we lose another one. It's sadly, it's part of this cycle that we're stuck in at the moment. We get one back and we lose another. But I'm still happy. I didn't even know some of these kids, to be honest with you.
No, me
Barnaby.
Too.
I obviously Dane Scarlett, and we've seen Mikey Moore, and Mikey Moore's looked like he was going to score today from the beginning. And my dad told me, he said he's going to score today, because I missed the first 5 minutes, and he said he started well, he looks sharp.
Yeah.
And we actually missed him, when he was out, because I feel he'd be much further along in his development, like Archie Gray is at the moment, Bergvall is at the moment. I feel he'd be more comfortable, more settled. But for 17, to be doing this kind of stuff I don't think it's normal. Even the crop of players we have at the moment, I don't think we've had a squad this young showing this amount of promise, which is something to be excited about. I know at the moment it seems like Tottenham Hotspurs is a sinking ship and we're struggling in the league. But we're good in the cups, which is something to be happy about. I mean,
and that's something that Spurs fans have been asking for years. I mean, people are forgetting this, but literally Spurs fans for years, about 4, 5, 6 years, have been saying, I don't care about top 4. I want us to go far in the cups. Well, you're getting, some of those people are getting what they wish for, because we've literally kind of, in the league, they're clearly not as excited about it. Can I just say, before we go on, Tottenham's possible round of 16 opponents are AZ Alkmaar, Galatasaray, Real Sociedad, or FC Midtjylland. So I'm pretty sure that's either the 13th or 14th place team from the league stage, which is, I think, AZ or Galatasaray, or Sociedad or Midtjylland, which is maybe the 21st or 22nd. But anyway, obviously, I think the dream there for me would be not to go to Galatasaray again. But none of those teams did as well in the league as we did. So, and we will have players back by then.
Right. I want to just say one thing. I remember having a podcast with you when years ago, when we had Jose Mourinho, and we were discussing at the time, talking about how if we get to a cup final or even close to a cup final, or we even win a trophy, let's say we do win a trophy, it would change things at the club. It would change the mentality of the players. They would be hungry to win more. And I know right now it seems bad, but sometimes in football you get a bit of luck and you get to a final. Let's say we get to a League Cup final, which we have one foot in the door at the moment. It would change something at the club. It would change the mood. It would change the mentality of the players. The players all of a sudden would be hungry to win something else or get to that final again. Something that a lot of these players have never played in a final. I think most of the players. I know we have some players that won things. Madison won with Leicester and Sonny won international honors, but most of our squad haven't won. But so they need to know that feeling. And
no, I agree.
If we can get to a final, it would be great for the club, especially this early in the project. I know it doesn't seem likely because we're struggling in the league, but you never know. In the Europa League, if we get all of our players back by March, I believe the first leg is in March for us. If we can get 6 or 7 players back, maybe a signing, who knows? Maybe.
Yeah. Melvin, just before I let you go, I want to say this. I've been saying it for a while, but I think our best chance of winning the Europa League is if we win the Carabao Cup. I think if we can get through against Liverpool by hook or by crook, and it's going to be difficult, then I think we'll be playing Newcastle in the final, and they're almost like the best team we could face in the final, because even though they've got a great team and Isak's so good, there will be more pressure on them to win than there even is on us, because they haven't won a trophy for like 65 odd years. So I think if we can win that Carabao Cup, then I could really see us going incredibly deep in the in the Europa League, and I think that's our best chance personally.
I think the atmosphere was good today. I think the fans were lifted. I was there against Leicester, Barnaby. I don't know if you know, you probably don't, but I think I chose the wrong game to go to. If I should have went to this one, not because of the result, but seeing these kids score live. I was happy that I was at the Sheffield game when Mikey Moore made his debut, and I was thinking this might be, an iconic moment. I can say I was there for Mikey Moore's debut, but for him to score today it's like being there when Harry Kane scored his first goal, or possibly it's that type of moment I feel today.
Yeah. Listen, Melvin, thanks so much once again for being on the show. Really appreciate it. And let's keep these wins going, and I'll speak to you hopefully after another win at the weekend.
For sure, 100%. See you, mate.
Man. Cheers, mate. Okay. Next up, I'm going to Tim Spurrier in the UK. Tim, can you hear me? How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, much better. A bit of a respite from a miserable month or two. So it feels better, right?
Yes, it does. It feels like even the victory against Hoffenheim last week, I felt like was not enjoyable. Whereas today we were a lot more patient and we were able to make it the first game for a long time that didn't feel like a basketball game. Who really impressed you today, Tim?
Well, there's been a few upsides from today. Obviously Mickey being back was just awesome. I just forget quite how magical he is. I was lucky enough to see him at every game last year at home, and he's an amazing player. Really pleased with Sonny. He was on fire today, and I know you guys not mentioned it, but I was literally jumping off the sofa, going, "My God, this is Sonny again." I was a bit worried that sort of middle bit went flat and the stadium went flat, and I thought, here we go, they're going to pinch one, and you know how the Spurs thing goes. But actually that injury to Dragusin was just a stroke of luck, not for him obviously, and Ange was forced to make those changes and bring in Ajayi on and Dane Scarlett, forced to, and you could see that they were much less frightened and more hungry. And it does make you think, why has he not done that before? and he's played these players as sort of out on their feet and tired and just passing the ball sideways and going slowly. And like for Ajayi, for instance, straight in there, and a beautiful 1-2 with Dane, and it's a goal. Mikey was great all game. I thought, yeah, you're right. He was a bit quiet in places, but he was always there or there's about, and he always wanted to beat a man, and happy he scored at the end. So I know they weren't great, a great competition, but we have struggled beating not great competition. So we beat them, and the kids have done us proud. My one worry is we'll be Spurs and not play them again or put them out on loan, which is classically what we've done.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm so pleased for all of them getting their goals, of course, and clearly Mikey Moore is highly rated by Ange Postecoglou. With Ajayi and even, I mean, I would probably more use the example of Dane Scarlett. When I've seen Dane Scarlett play for Spurs previously in pre-season games and the times he's got on the pitch, he has looked raw and young and not ready. And now he's gone out on a few loans, none of which have kind of really ripped anything up. But he's come back, and even just something as little as making that run across the box at the right time from deep in between two centre-backs, for me, shows what he's learnt from going out and playing some genuine senior football. Whereas what I'd say about Ajayi, and I haven't seen much, and obviously it was great, but he did, I agree with you, he drove and he used his pace and he was confident. But I think we just have to trust that Ange, seeing these kids every day, he'll know when's right for each player to go out and get senior football and then come back. And listen, I think it'll be amazing for Ajayi's development and confidence going forward that he got a goal, but it would not surprise me at all if we saw him go out on loan, and I won't be upset about it.
Oh, no. I mean, I'm being a bit naughty. I suppose it's just years and almost decades of having really good youth players and youth teams, and then not seeing them properly, just to maybe have one or two come through. And I just remember when I was young that we had, captains of England youth team, and then we'd never see them again.
Yeah,
so,
Darren Caskey. Although he did play quite a few games for us. I'll just say, because this is relevant, Ali Gold has just tweeted saying Will Lancashire is set to head out on loan now with Burnley, Middlesbrough, West Brom, Cardiff and Luton. So all Championship clubs among those interested. Clubs abroad also interested, but Spurs keen to get him playing in the Championship. So I think that's going to work out well for Dane Scarlett for the rest of this season. And the fact that he's got a big, important goal for Spurs, it's a good chance for him, I think.
I think that's great for the swap there for Scarlett and Lancashire is probably great. And you're right. It wasn't that he was doing anything spectacular. He was just doing good, solid football. And that, as you say, that run across the box and just placing that header in. And then that nice 1-2 with Ajayi. None of it was spectacular, but it was like, yeah, that's good. And you're right. He's probably learnt that by playing day in, day out against some really hard centre-backs, right?
Yeah. Now, Tim, answer me the difficult question that I almost feel like I don't want to bring up, but is there any chance of taking this momentum on to Brentford at the weekend?
It's hard to say, isn't it? Because we have lots of little false dawns. All I'm going to say is this, that if we do manage to scrape through, not particularly the Brentford game, but say
Liverpool.
We've got some almost like a new fresh legs coming back that are world class. So it might almost do us a favour that we can have, Romero and the like coming back with fresh legs going on. I don't know about who's going to turn up at Brentford. Who knows? When anyone asks me the score, I say 5-2, but I just don't know who to. Really. And it feels a bit that way.
That's what was enjoyable about tonight, is it wasn't a basketball game. Do you know what?
No.
It was, like I said at the beginning, it was just calm. Yeah,
which is unusual. So the weekend, I really couldn't tell you. What I do hope against Liverpool is we score the first goal and then we got a chance. And we got fresh legs coming back. But all we can, I mean, we're Spurs fans, right? We can only live with hope because that's all we've had for years.
No away goals in the Carabao Cup semi-finals anymore, unfortunately.
No.
Obviously, before I let you go, there's some talk of potential signings in the last few days of the window. What do you think? Are you kind of reticent to get excited like I am because you've seen it all too many times before?
Yeah, I've seen it too many times that names have come up and come and gone. I mean, the boy at Bayern would be a fantastic, even if it was on loan, a fantastic addition to the squad. I think it's been a bit of a the usual eyes to the heavens of, we have absolutely needed bodies in, and we're what, few days away from the end of the window, and nothing really's happened apart from Kinski, who's good, but not what we needed. I think there's a chance we'll get him in from Bayern. I really do think there's a strong chance of that. The talk of the boy at Brentford, Whistler, I don't particularly want him, and I don't think it will go through. I think this is Spurs playing games to try and get that Bayern lad in.
Okay. Has there been newer reports about Whistler tonight then?
No, it was just yesterday, wasn't it? And then I just don't think it'll happen. It just seems that I think I heard people say, and I probably agree, he's a solid Premier League player, but he's not someone you think, oh, great, come in now. He'd be a squad player for Spurs, I think. So yeah. I can't see him being extremely helpful. But it's a rock and a hard place, isn't it? Because, as I said, you've got almost like a full team coming back. All that bench that was shown on the TV tonight is like a team on its own, a fabulous team on its own. So I can kind of understand the club being fairly reticent to spend too much money too quickly.
Well, as I've said before, my issue isn't really with, we've got all those players coming back. My issue is when they come back, who else is going to get injured? It's one in, one out, or are they going to get re-injured? So that's my big worry. But listen, mate, thank you so much for calling in. Really appreciate it. And Tim, hopefully get to speak to you after another win next time.
Almost certainly it's going to be a win against Brentford, right? We'll be stay positive. See you later, mate.
Tim. See you, bye.
Bye.
Okay. Next up, we're going all the way to Canada, and Tom. Tom, thanks for being patient, mate. How do you feel after that 3-0 victory?
Oh, what a difference to see a victory and to see the fans get into it. And thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Don't be silly. I'm absolutely loving your Britney Spears microphone. Who impressed you today? How are you feeling about it all?
I mean, what a difference having Van de Ven in the squad. I mean, you could see just I think from an intensity perspective, I think a lot of players were a lot more comfortable. I think Son was happy to have him on there and just to see the ball movement in the center of the park. And going back to a lot of the injuries, I think I saw a stat yesterday that our back four have never been together. And when they are, I think they've only been together 16 times and we have 12 of those are wins. So, I mean, I think that's the good part is that hopefully some of these guys will come back because, I agree with some of the guests that were on earlier. One silverware, I think, is going to change everything. I think you hope that it's going to, start a momentum and for us to get back into things and to be that much more positive about what we've been doing. Because, when you go back to what Pochettino said after the Champions League, that he wanted to do a rebuild and we didn't do it. And now we're doing it. And it's what we've wanted for years to see this just injection of youth come into the club, and we have it. And now it's just to be patient to see this through, even though we're seeing so many growing pains now.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree. In terms of kind of individual performances tonight, as well as Big Mickey Van de Ven, obviously the kids.
Mikey Moore. I mean, I think we really have an unbelievable player in our hands, and I think the more experience he gets and the more game time he gets, the more confidence he will have, and the more exposure to the Premier League game. But yeah, I think we have an unbelievable player on our hands and a future superstar, and hopefully the heir apparent to Son.
I saw some people in the comments, saying I didn't think Mikey Moore had a good game. He got the ball caught under his feet a lot. I just think for me, and I don't know if you agree, I think clearly, that illness was, for any illness to keep you out for 2 months is big, and it feels to me like it will mean like heavy legs for quite a long time. And I think him getting kind of 95 minutes into those legs tonight will stand him in really good stead going forward. And then add on to that the fact that he got his first goal for the club at the end there. That'll be huge for him.
Well, absolutely. And I think people find it hard to believe that he's 17. I mean, he doesn't look like a 17-year-old, but I mean, it's hard to be in that type of mind frame.
He's just turned 18, hasn't he? He's just turned
18.
Sorry.
So to be in front of 62,000 people, though, it has that effect. And I think what you said, too, coming back from an illness, and all has to do with confidence. And the more you get into the game, the more you get to play your game and know who you're playing against and feel more and more comfortable into the system. He's going to be unbelievable, and I think he'll be a starter next year, and I think we'll continue in that pathway for him, and especially with other young players like Vuskovic coming and Ajayi today. I mean, you got to feel great for the kid scoring right away. So hopefully it continues.
And obviously, just what are we? We've got kind of 3-4 more days left of the transfer window now. What are you thinking about these reports that are coming in today? And do you think we'll get 1 or 2 over the line? What do you think is likely to happen in the next few days?
Well, I think that the one thing that's been so disappointing about this transfer window. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Kinski was a great addition, but it just seems like we're panicking now. And is this going to be in the true Tottenham tradition that we just see a ton of rumors and nothing happens? And it was like, well, we tried, but they just didn't want to come. And that's what worries me about Tell today, is that we seem to have an agreement. However, the player hasn't decided yet. And that concerns me, especially with the position we're in the Premier League at 15th. You know, that is he going to look at that and say, well, I don't really want to be part of a 15th place team right now because I might not have Champions League next year. But he's an unbelievable player and would be great into the system. It's just at this point, do we really want players that need to be convinced to come? But I just really hope we do something. But I'm just so disappointing in the chairman and how this has been handled, and how I believe that Ange has just been hung out to dry to answer to the fan base on why nothing's happened.
Can I just play devil's advocate for a second? Because
Sure.
I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but is there not a chance? Bear in mind that since Ange has come in, he has said so publicly and so openly that it's so vital to him that when he talks to a player about trying to persuade them to come to the club, that they really want to come to the club. And if he doesn't feel that from them, then he just says, we move on to the next one. Is it not possible that, as well as obviously, you know, experience telling us that we're never going to pay 10, 15 million pounds over the odds, and we're never going to pay the wages that, you know, Man United or Chelsea or Arsenal or certainly not Man City are going to pay. But is it also not possible that some of the players that we're interested in, and spoke to them and was just like, I don't, like you just said, I don't want to be persuading them. If they're not properly into this project, then no.
Well, and I agree. You know, I think the Tottenham till I die has to take effect somewhere. I mean, I didn't put this on my body for no reason. I mean, I think the players have to want to be there. What I appreciated so much of before this game, the presser where Kulusevski said, you know, I want to be here and I want the manager to be here. And I think that's what you want. You want the player to be like, I want to win here. I don't want to go away and win a trophy somewhere else. I want to win that trophy at Tottenham and be immortal. And I think that's what we all want to see.
Yeah, totally. Listen, Thomas, thanks so much, mate. Really appreciate getting involved in the show today. And let's talk again after another win, I hope.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Cheers, mate. Bye-bye. Okay, next up, going all the way to Turkey. Orkun. Am I saying it right?
Hi, Barnaby. Yeah, Orkun.
Orkun. Lovely, mate.
Okay.
Thanks for getting involved all the way from Turkey, mate. How are you feeling after that 3-0 victory?
More like this, please. Literally from the start, we were in control. It was a game that we were pretty much in control for majority of. Obviously, they had one or two scares. We had one or two scares, some in front of defense. But overall, I would say, we were in control of that. Again, like some of the previous guys said, it's great to see Van de Ven back in the team. I think it gives everybody a confidence, whether it's midfield, attack, wings, etc. I think he had a good game. Like, obviously, he could only, they wanted to manage his minutes, so he only had 45 minutes. But I thought he was solid in those 45 minutes.
Really solid.
Yeah. Today, I have to say, I think obviously, I've been listening. You've been asking who were, standout performers for today. I really think today, actually, because I thought our midfield had a really poor game against Leicester. Bentancur, especially, I thought was really off the pace against Leicester today. Yeah. I think he was really good. Together with Bergvall, they pretty much bossed that midfield. Every time the ball was lost, they recovered it really well. They were threading some really great passes to guys like Mikey Moore, to Son in the first half, and even in the second half, those balls kept coming. Something I'd like to see more, like today, the first goal. Obviously, Dane Scarlett scored it. That's the additional thing. What a great evening for our academy. All 3 goals by academy players.
Can I give you a stat quickly, Orkun, just before you go on? So Mikey Moore is the youngest Englishman to ever score in a major European competition at just 17 years and 172 days old. So I said earlier he was 18 now, and I was completely wrong. Not only was I wrong, I was wrong by about 150 days, probably more, 200 days almost. So brilliant for young Mikey Moore. And
I think before then it was Harry Kane, wasn't it? 18, was it? Oh no,
I'm not sure.
No, anyway, the first goal, again, a fantastic cross in by Pedro Porro.
Was
it Decky?
It was Decky Kulusevski, yeah.
Decky, yeah, sorry, it was Porro at the weekend for Richarlison's goal.
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing. I think that's one area that I think we really need to improve, because every time, we whip these fantastic crosses in, and I don't know why we don't do it more often. I think we've got the players who are capable of that. But I think that's an area that I'd really like us to, because every time, we whip those kind of crosses in. For example, Liverpool score a lot of goals with those kind of crosses, with those kind of things. So I think that's an area that I hope, Ange works a lot more on in training. But yeah, tonight, obviously, the youngsters really put on a show. And this is the thing, you see, this is the one area where obviously a lot of people have been critical of Ange. I personally had not reached the point of I want Ange out, because I do feel that the main reason for our poor run has been the ridiculous injury crisis that we've had. Arguably, maybe some of his, playing style and the rigorous training might be cause for some of these injuries. But overall, a lot of the injuries were picked up either at the, during a game, or during training, like some silly Solanke's injury. So anyway, the point I'm trying to make is the one area that I personally have always criticized Ange is, why does he not play some of these youngsters? And that includes Jed Spence as well, because players like Jed Spence, even Reguilon, since he's had to come into the team, he's done okay for us, I think. And obviously some of these guys, we all know that young players, they have that additional, when they come into that team, they have that additional, if you like, fight. They want to really prove themselves. So they've got that additional, what they lack in experience, they make up for in enthusiasm, and wanting to, really put on a show for, the boss. And
it's important. I think it's important to any club to have people coming up through the academy and putting pressure on the team. Absolutely. Orchan, I've got to let you go in a second, but before I do, sure. Transfer window, do you expect us to get anyone in the next couple of days?
We have to. We need to. I think, it's criminal that we haven't so far. But I think one of the main reasons for this delay, because if you look at a lot of teams haven't really bought anyone. There are other teams that also need players, and they haven't been able to do it. And I think it's because a lot of the potential availabilities, clubs didn't know, especially clubs in the European competitions, didn't know their fate until, this week. Obviously, the Champions League games that have gone on the last 2 days, and today Europa League, and now and tonight. So now that everybody knows their fate, I think it's going to be more likely you'll see probably transfers in the next couple of days by us and also other teams as well.
Orchan, I hope you're right, mate. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to let you go because I've got loads more people to see and only about 18 minutes left. But Orchan, let's speak again after another victory,
Definitely.
I hope.
I really do as well. I'm looking forward to the weekend, because obviously we got Jed Spence available. I think we're going to have a bit more of a, stronger team available against Brentford, and I'm expecting Romero to be back. I think Romero is going to be back for Liverpool as well. So I'm really keeping my fingers crossed for that. Okay. So
thanks a lot, mate. See you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you, mate.
Okay, before I bring on the next caller, I've got a super chat here from Jerome. How can I get on the fan show next time? If you email tottenhamfanchris@gmail.com, that's tottenhamfanchris@gmail.com, Chris will get you on. Okay, next up, going all the way to Ireland, and one of my favorite old pony shirts that I really hated at the time, but now looks so great and retro. Paddy, mate, some positivity at last. How are you feeling?
Yeah, good. Not so good in the first half. It was very flat. Apart from, Son had skinned his fullback a few times, but and obviously Moore started well. But I think the second half was great to see the youth come through. Three great goals. It just shows when you look at the list of players we have from 17 to 24. It's unbelievable the talent we have, and Donnelly out on loan, who 2 assists and a goal last night as well, was fab, and the keeper. So it looks good, but you still have to wonder, is the lack of signings really because they're not backing Ange, or they're just buying? They don't seem to be backing Ange. I think I have a feeling we're going to get Tomori in. I think with that injury again tonight with Dragusin, I think we need another fullback, and there's rumours around Tomori, so I wouldn't be surprised with that. The one on Tell, it's hard to know. Ange always says he likes to have that conversation, and they really have to want to come to Tottenham. if they've agreed a deal and he said he wants to take his time, it sounds like he's waiting for Arsenal, or he's waiting. And if Arsenal don't get Watkins, are they going to go for him instead, or are they going to go back for Vlahovic, or who are they going to go for? But I think we need someone. But if he doesn't want to come, I just hope we're not up putting all our eggs in one basket and don't have a backup plan. And I hope that guy isn't the guy who failed a medical at AC Milan.
Yes, that one looked like a bit of a dodgy one, like the kind of thing that we're used to getting given at the last minute because nothing else came off. I hope you're right. And what about in terms of going to that Brentford game at the weekend? Obviously, they've got a great record at the GTEC Stadium. Is there any way we can take this momentum on and get something there?
I'm sort of in two minds. In a way, I'd like them to rest some of the players. I'd like them to rest Kulusevski. I'd like them to rest Porro. I know Spence could play right back. Like if you look at Davies, though, Davies has played every single game since he came back from a hamstring. So I don't know who they can rest him for. Hopefully get Van der Ven maybe another 50, 55 minutes this time.
Mm-hmm.
I'd nearly, to be honest, at this stage, I'd nearly sacrifice it just to have a fully fit squad ready to go for Liverpool. Because, getting to a final, we're 1-0 up. The fact that we hopefully will have our two centre-backs back. I mean, Dragsson, I don't have any confidence in him anyway. He's just liable to make a mistake, or he doesn't pressure the ball. I don't think it suits our style unless people are pumping the ball into the box. It's not the type of defender he is. He looked great in the Euros. But I think we might get a draw at the weekend, but I'd sacrifice it if I thought we were going to rest 4 or 5 of our key players and have them sit up and be ready for Anfield next Thursday, because I think that's going to be a barnstormer. And for some reason, I just have a feeling we might get a draw.
I really, really hope you're right. I'm sorry to cut it short, but I've got a few more people to speak to before the end of the show. But lovely to talk to you, mate. And let's speak after another win, I hope.
Cheers. Good luck. Bye.
Oh, man. Bye. Okay. Next up is Mark. Mark, how are you doing, mate? How are you feeling after that victory?
I'm happy for the win, definitely. Feeling a bit pedestrian in the first half. They looked like they were playing with a little bit of fear, afraid to let one in and the crowd turn on them. I think even from time to time, I think even Andrew's looking at them thinking, I'm not asking you to play this way. And I think that was when Bergvall was trying a bit too hard, I think, wasn't it? Absolutely. And I think when half time came, I think he probably settled them down a little bit and said, you can't play with fear. You've got to attack them, because they were sitting in for the evening. I think they were hoping for at least a draw, and maybe the opportunity to counter attack us, which they did on 1 or 2 occasions. But at least with Davis, who I thought played really well today, made a very good performance considering he hasn't played for a while. So I was happy with that, and I was also pleased with the young kids getting a couple of goals for us as well. So it's a positive in that way. So we've got a happy household at the moment, as well as the wife and the dog.
Let me ask you this question. I was saying during the watch along that I feel like Mikey Moore is much better suited to playing on the right and driving in narrow onto his left side. He seems just more comfortable there. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do actually. And I think, it's even like with Spence as well, when he's playing out of position. As much as he can play in different positions, he's more comfortable coming down his natural side. And like Mikey Moore, I think he's very much more comfortable in when he switched around and confident in what he was doing, rather than thinking about the back pass or trying to turn over his own feet because he's not naturally in the right direction. But he's a promising young lad who, considering he's, like you said, he's 17, nearly 18 or whatever it is, and he's a strong lad as well, so that really helps in those positions.
All right, and before I let you go, Mark, obviously transfer window closes in a couple of days. How confident are you feeling that we're going to get someone to excite the fan base?
As a Spurs fan for the last 40 plus years, it almost feels as though it's look what we try to do, and unfortunately we've bought these players that are going to turn up in the summer.
Okay, that's not the positivity I was looking for, Mark. But listen, thank you so much for being a part of the show, and let's speak again after another victory. Top man.
Yeah, take care.
Cheers, mate. Bye bye. Okay, next up, our regular Paul in Ireland. Paul, good to speak to you after a win, mate. How are you feeling?
Quite good, actually, to be fair. I suppose great to see Mickey back. There just looked like to be a complete calmness about the whole 11 that started the game. He has a presence about him, and it's just, yeah, he just brings a whole calmness to the whole place. And they showed, look, it was a bit of a slow burner. Most of the ball, they parked 5 or 6 buses, and it's quite hard to get through. But as one of your previous callers has said, I think, unfortunately for Dragosin, nobody wants to see an injury, especially us. But it was probably a blessing in disguise, because we had to bring on players that were more attack minded, and the whole game opened up. And I think it suited us in the end. And once we got one, I was fairly confident we were going to get 3 or 4. We just had that kind of aura about us as soon as the first one went in. And great to see the academy getting on the score sheet. They were just fantastic, absolutely fantastic.
Absolutely agree. And I also want to give some props to kind of almost like some of the players who will go below under the radar. I thought Archie Gray again, Brandon Austin was very calm, and Ben Davis especially.
If we could clone Ben Davis and make another 3 or 4 of them, I'd be quite happy. He's just, for a man of his age, and that has put in as much as he has for Tottenham over the years, and he can still do it, Mr. Reliable, non-stop. It's just, he's very rare day he'd have a bad game.
Yeah. And Paul, how do you feel about the transfer window last few days? Are we going to get anyone in to excite us?
Yeah. Look, I'd be fairly confident we might get 1 or 2 in. This chap from Bayern Munich, I would prefer. No, I don't have a name to mind. I would prefer maybe someone a bit more experienced. Now, look, I know he's 19. No, I know we have a lot of teenagers. You'd like to see someone that has been maybe established in, if it's out in Europe, a top-ish European team that has been playing, regular 23, 24, 25-year-old, bit more experienced. But look, that's not to say that this boy wouldn't come in. While I was supposed to be working today, I spent a lot of time on YouTube having a nose. And he looks quite exciting. A proper Tottenham player. He can dribble, he can score, he can make goals, which is what we all want to see. Are we going to spend 55, 60 million in January to make it permanent? I'm not so sure. Get him on loan for 6 months and hopefully get us over the line in what I think, and I did say this to you a couple of weeks ago, I think our best chance of a trophy is this Europa League. Once we got through this stage of it, I made the last 16. I think two-legged rounds will suit us down to the ground once we get a fully fit squad back. I do think that we can go away to teams and maybe get a draw, even sneak a win, and beat them out the door at the lane.
Paul, I hope you're right, mate. Let's talk again after the weekend, where hopefully we can get a result at Brentford. Top man, thanks a lot, Paul.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, next up is John. John, thank you for being patient, mate. Can you hear me?
That's
and how are you
okay.
feeling?
Yeah.
You're in Spain, aren't you, John? How are you feeling after that 3-0 win?
I am in Spain. I think it's relief and satisfaction. You kind of expect to beat a team like Elfsborg, but there was a reasonable performance in terms of control and industry. I think I put it in the chat. I agree with some of the previous comments. There was a bit pedestrian at times. So I think we had some challenges there. But I think it was crucial. I said on the fan show with Chris the other day, I was saying that this game for me is the most crucial of all, just because avoiding the playoff in the Europa League was essential. We just can't afford the extra games, and you just don't know through February exactly how much of the squad is going to be fit and available, and so you can get a banana skin and be out before you know it. So, but come March, when this restarts, the last 16 restarts, we should have something resembling our full squad. I do think it's I I don't know if it's our best chance, but realistically, when you have to go away to Liverpool with who are a great side at the moment, and we haven't got our full side, there's all to play for when we've got a lead. But, you know, if we went out, it wouldn't surprise that many people, let's face it. It wouldn't be that surprising unfortunately, if we lost to Villa at the moment away in the FA Cup. And it won't be that surprising if we didn't get a result against Brentford. I think, I don't think that should be, I don't think we should measure how well or badly we're doing based on that week, which would be a disaster or really uplifting. I think you have to wait and just find a way to get through February without it getting worse than it is, and hope that in the Europa League we can really have a crack at it. And I do say, though, that it's ridiculous to consider us favourites, but we're one of 5 or 6 teams that could win it. That's what I'd say. You know, I think the favourites are Bilbao. They're going great guns. I mean, I'm not saying it just because I'm in Spain. They're not far off the top of La Liga. They've got a really solid team. The manager's the old Barcelona manager, Valverde. He knows what he's doing. They've got players like Nico Williams. And the finals at San Mamés at their ground.
Yeah.
And they've just won the Spanish Cup last year in a difficult environment where everything is really won by Barcelona, Real Madrid, or Atletico. So there are teams there that are really kind of well structured. But, you know, I quite like the idea of getting Galatasaray, to be honest, because I think that I'd like to put right. Yeah, it was the worst performance of the season, really. And I don't think that we were incredibly incompetent and they still only beat us by 1 goal. So I think our best team beats them quite comfortably.
Good point.
But yeah, really happy. Today.
Yeah, good man. I have to keep it short, I'm afraid, because I've got a couple more people and only a few minutes. But let's speak again from all the way from Spain, mate, when we've got a win at the weekend, hopefully. Top man.
Fingers crossed. Okay, thank you.
Mate. Bye-bye. Okay, next up, we've got Des. Des, how are you feeling, mate? Thanks for being so patient. Are you pretty pleased after that 3-0 win?
I am, dude. Barnaby, I'm really pleased. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, it was quite good tonight. Really, really impressed with Archie Gray. The kind of coolness and maturity that he plays with is unbelievable. For someone who probably wouldn't have played anywhere near as many games as he has, and obviously that goes for Bergfall as well. I think between them they've played over 40 games, which is incredible.
Amazing.
Because that wasn't part of the plan. People like myself have probably slated Hans over the last few months and stuff, but whatever Hans has done, he's built them for the future with these young guys and giving them a chance and bringing them in. So fair play on that. And Gray, certainly guys, obviously I live in York, work with guys who support Leeds, and one person in particular told me how good this kid was during the summer when Spurs signed him. And by all accounts, he has a younger brother coming through the Leeds Academy who's only 15, who's equally as good. So, and obviously the Gray family go back a long way with Leeds. So my hope is that people like him can change the mentality of the club. Mickey Van Van, players like that, and hopefully, if they all play well, it encourages players like Romero to stay, to not look at places like Real Madrid or anywhere else.
And where are you at with Ange right now? Then and how do you feel the next couple of games are going to go? Which are obviously huge. The next week is huge for Spurs.
Yeah, for me, a bit different from what everyone else has been saying tonight. I think Brentford's crucial to win. The cup's brilliant, if we get through, brilliant. But the league is where the finance comes from, where you build from for the future. So definitely we have to go to Brentford and at least avoid defeat, whatever happens. And that's why I think Mickey will play again on Sunday, and Romero might come back. Avoid defeat in that game because, you've got Ipswich playing Southampton, you've got Leicester. I don't think they have a tough game at the weekend. So you lose the Brentford game, we could find ourselves 5 points ahead of some of these teams, which then starts to get very concerning.
Yeah, that is a scary problem.
Yeah, and my mind has changed a few times, but he wants to play the right way, and I suppose for once, with Slate Levy, and he deserves it most of the time, but at least for once he's not pulling the trigger and he's sticking with the manager, so credit for that.
Mate, I'm actually really
something that we don't. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, Des, I'm actually really pleased you brought that up, because I think you know, a lot of people have been asking for him to stick with a manager for a while, and he is now doing it. So you can't kind of damn him one way and the other at the same time. But anyway, listen, Des, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. Let's talk again, hopefully after a win against Brentford.
Hopefully. Thanks very much, Barnaby.
Bye-bye.
Good evening. Cheers.
And the very patient, but finally, John, thank you so much for waiting, mate. How are you feeling at the end of that 3-0 victory in the Europa League, getting us through to the last 16?
Yeah, really good. Really good. I thought started off probably a little bit first half, a little bit anxious, given what happened before, particularly the Leicester game. But they weren't really in the game. They just sat off, and we had to work it out. And in the second half, we got the results, scored some good goals. Pleased for the kids that scored. Pleased for Ange as well. I thought Ange managed the game well today, with taking Van de Ven at half time, putting Son at half time.
Yeah.
And then, it kind of fell into place a little bit. And I thought, fair play to you. Granted, it's Elfsborg, but you can only beat who's in front of you. And given the run that we're on, that we'll take anything at the minute. So yeah, really pleased for him.
And who really impressed you this evening? Sorry.
Good to see Van de Ven back. Obviously, he's just quality in there. I'm not Porro's biggest fan, but I have to say, in the last month, 6 weeks, that guy stood up more than some of his counterparts of a similar age, who I'm a little bit disappointed with. He's just playing and playing and playing. Archie Gray, good again. Ben Davis. But Kulusevski, I think, coming on was the game changer, really. And then particularly him moving into the middle. Yeah. Really changed that ultimately. But big shout out to the young lads as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I don't know if it's likely to happen, but I wouldn't mind Mikey Moore getting a start at the weekend on the right to allow Kulusevski to play in the middle. I like
with Mikey Moore. He was taking people on. Okay, lost the ball a couple of times. He don't mind that. He gets in players' heads by doing things like that. Played on the right, played on the left. Delighted he scored. Absolutely delighted for him that he scored at the end. So yeah, 100%. Yeah, starting again for sure.
And just before I let you go, mate, transfer window finishes in a few days. Slams shut. Are we gonna get someone in to excite the fan base? What do you think?
I think our transfer window was shut firmly after Mikey Moore scored tonight. I think Levy's just probably looked at Ange and gone, no, you don't need anyone. I don't think we're going to buy anyone. I've got no faith in that Johan Lange and Scott Munn and whoever else it is up there. I've got no faith in them. I don't think we're going to get anybody, unfortunately.
Okay, well, I'm hoping your negativity will lead to some kind of like the ether letting you be wrong.
Reverse psychology, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think it will, but it'd be great if we did, but I just can't think we will.
Well, let's talk more about it at the weekend, mate. Thanks so much for being on the show. Really appreciate it. And speak to you soon.
See you later.
Bye. Okay, guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Fan Show. Please do give this video a like, press subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to Chris's channel at Chris Cowlin, bringing you all the daily content. Also, if you'd like to appear on a future episode of the Fan Show, please email tottenhamfanchris@gmail.com. That's tottenhamfanchris@gmail.com. It's really important to us that the channel gives everyone a voice, particularly from those around the world. So wherever you are, please do get in touch.